Yo, what is going on guys, Houndish here, and today the Division beta is finally upon us, and I've played quite a few hours already today on the Xbox One, and it's been absolutely awesome. The Division is a game I am very excited for, coming out obviously in March, so it's awesome to actually finally be able to play the game. But I have been doing a lot of research about the Division and how it works, everything within the game, so I figured I'd do some first impressions for you guys today, because I know everyone is very interested in the Division, but you guys in my kind of YouTube audience as well are particularly interested in RPG games and games with kind of MMO-esque features, which of course the Division has, and a lot of you guys are very much into Destiny, and the Division may be something that captures your attention going forward. So I want to kind of talk about the game because I'm very excited about it as well. So to just give a little bit of background to start with, of course this is an RPG first and then kind of a shooter game as a secondary thing, although of course all the mechanics are shooter game mechanics, but it's set in New York where you, an agent of the Division, have been sent to help restore civilization following a pandemic which sweeps the city and kind of causes a hell of a lot of chaos. Obviously following the fall of society, gangs and thugs roam and take kind of control of very large areas of the city, and this is where the Division comes in. So of course it's a permanently online experience, and it kind of seamlessly flows from playing solo into a team and going into the PvP modes as well, which is very cool. So the game looks absolutely beautiful. I think the frame rate on Xbox is actually 30 FPS as opposed to 60 FPS, which you will get on PC, but of course that's probably limitations because I do get the feeling that this game is pretty damn massive, but nonetheless it does look very good and the quality is very good on the Xbox, especially for a beta. It'd be interesting to see any differences that there might be in a full build of the game when it actually comes out. But the gameplay itself is very satisfying. This is a cover-based shooter, remember, and it does it very well. Moving from cover to cover and rolling is pretty fluent in my opinion, and you're always kind of situationally aware of targets and threats that are inbound, such as grenades and stuff like that. So it does make the gameplay very fun and satisfying. Of course there are different enemies and different levels of enemies throughout the city and from different factions as well, and in combat the enemies can be pretty amusing and pretty interesting as well. Sometimes you get chased down by a guy screaming with a baseball bat. It can be very funny, but as well it can be very shocking and kind of catch you off guard, which I do like about the gameplay element. So it's not kind of a super technical shooting game, although tactically you know, it is a very tactical game, but really it's about driving that RPG experience, and the mechanics that are there are very fluent and kind of enjoyable and really help with the immersion of the world, which is something that I really like about the Division so far. So moving on, you have a base of operations, so it's basically an overall base filled with vendors, loot, stashes, and there are also wings to the base which are called the medical, tech and security wings, and these are kind of upgradable parts of the base, and there are 10 wing upgrades in each of the 3 wings, which means that each one has a currency of its own. So for example, medical supplies come from the medical wing, which actually buy the upgrades in question, and these are earned through missions that are specific to each wing as well. So you kind of do specific stuff in the world and they're unlocked in different locations, and that will give you the currency you need specifically, for example, for the medical wing. So there's quite a lot of content and playable stuff to do there, and there's only kind of 2 upgrades you can select during the beta, and the second one you can get is the 4th one along, and that took something like 3 or 4 separate activities for me to have the currency for. So to do the whole lot and then, you know, all 10 upgrades for each wing, there's actually quite a lot of content there, but it's also content that's kind of important to your customization and character development. And then of course there are the weapons and gear kind of side of thing, which there's a lot of, and there's very different sets and rarities of gear in the game. And as well as this, there's a lot of mods for weapons, meaning that there's a fair amount of customization, and gear is acquired through anything in a game. It could be stuff stashed in the corner, drop in from people you kill, purchased through vendors, which there are different currencies for from different vendors and have different level requirements for that vendor. So the end game content potentially, you know, is really awesome right here, and there's a lot of loot as well, which is very good. And another thing I like is kind of how much you want to customize, currently at least from playing this part of the beta, is pretty much your choice. You aren't forced to have to customize, you know, maximum amounts in order to do certain activities. That is really a choice, as long as you've got gear that is of the right quality to do that kind of engagement, or of the right level, then you're okay. But of course if you do want to do loads of kind of customization and really maximize your potential in certain combat situations, then that's something you can do, which is really good in the Division. So to talk a little bit more about gameplay, there's a lot of story and side missions, and then there are also the public encounters which occur when you're out in the city, and these kind of make up most of the PvE side of the game. And then of course there is the Dark Zone, which is the PvP element of the game, and you'll actually find some of the best gear as well, and you'll have to safely extract it from the Dark Zone without other players killing you, which makes it a very kind of fun and unique PvP mode. So there is a wealth of gameplay and progression and different types of looting and places that you can go depending on the type of player or your mood, which I feel will keep people busy for quite a while with the Division, and I feel it's pretty satisfying and well designed within the game. And then of course there is also the crafting element of the game, where you can make weapons, gear and mods using materials such as weapon parts and fabric, which you'll obviously collect from different activities. Crafting is not actually available in the beta, but I also feel like this adds even more customization to those kind of players who enjoy that, and also adds a lot more content to the game. So let's talk a little bit more about the Dark Zone. So this is the area that is basically the PvP element of the game takes place, and this is kind of the most contaminated area of the city, and you can enter this solo or as a team, but the area in general features kind of high level PvE encounters, but is a PvP space where there's kind of other agents running around, traveling through the city and doing what they do. So sometimes you will collide with those players, and that's where this experience is pretty interesting. So some of the best loot in the game is actually in the Dark Zone, and is found primarily through killing enemies, opening chests, but all Dark Zone loot is contaminated and requires to be extracted from the Dark Zone in order for you to keep it. So when you extract gear, you basically go to a certain point and then you call for a chopper to take the gear to your stash, but this does notify other players in the world that you're doing that, and they can join and include their gear in the extraction and kind of save it, or they can opt to attack you as you wait for the extraction. So it's a very interesting kind of mode, and any gear you have can be stolen if you do die, which is what makes the PvP element so cool, for me at least. So in killing friendly agents you can go rogue, so if someone attacks you or if you decide to attack other agents that aren't already fighting with people, this can score you some pretty good loot, but it will also notify all non-rogue agents of your presence and the threat level that you're kind of emitting as a rogue agent killing other players. So being rogue is pretty damn tough, and people will gang up on you and kind of focus their attention on you because you're a clear threat in the environment. So in the Dark Zone there is also an experience level which is required to access some of the loot. Obviously certain loot is at a certain level and you'll need a certain amount of XP to do that. Your level changes based on the activities you do in the Dark Zone. If you die, you do lose a little bit of reputation, and killing kind of other enemies and people will increase that level. If you decide to go rogue and then die, you will lose a lot more Dark Zone XP. So it's kind of a big risk reward element of the game, but overall this is a very unique environment for PvP, and other players are not necessarily a threat and could help you with your quest, but it's also possible for them to turn on you or attack you for your loot. So it's kind of a free world PvP with a dynamic that's very interesting and immersive, and pretty unique as well to kind of console games at least. And this has obviously been a core part of the development of the Division so far, and it's obviously something they've spent time on, and it's really cool, very unique idea. You can do it solo and obviously get stuff and manage to extract it. Not everyone is an asshole and will kill you, but to get some of the gear and to survive and kind of be safe in the Dark Zone, it's definitely recommendable to do it with a team. So overall, the game is doing some very unique things, and it's a lot of fun to play. For RPG and even MMO lovers, I think there's going to be a lot of interesting elements to this game, and a lot of reasons that they might want to play it. And also I feel like there will be a lot of content, and the kind of loot collectible element of the game will drive kind of a fun and expansive endgame experience for the Division. That is my hope. Obviously, we do have kind of a content limit in the beta right now, and we've got to play this game over time to see how it would kind of fare as a long-term end game product for people who enjoy that kind of thing. But there's a lot of potential in this game. They've put a lot of work into it. There were a few bugs inside of the beta. A couple of friends of mine couldn't get their GPS markers to show up in game. I had a problem where my screen would remain red if I took any damage, and basically like the filter on the screen would just remain red, so my screen would be red indefinitely. But of course that is just a beta, and hopefully if they nail this game, nail the stability on the consoles and the servers and everything like that can take it, I think we're in for a very good ride for the initial launch of the Division. It's also going to be very interesting to see what they do content wise going forward with the Division, any kind of expansions and how they might try to keep the world going, because of course it's been a very long game in development. So, you know, I think there's a lot of potential for The Division to be pretty damn awesome. I absolutely love it so far, and I just want to keep playing it. So that's a pretty good sign for me, because I spent most of the past couple of years on Destiny without really stopping. So I think The Division is definitely a game that has my attention right now. It's very cool, very well done. So that is my opinions of The Division, guys. If you've played it, let me know down below what you think about it, and if you've seen this gameplay, let me know if it's a game that you're interested in playing, and also a game that you'd be interested in seeing more content on this channel, because I do plan on doing quite a bit of Division content. Of course, I will remain doing Destiny content primarily on the channel, but The Division is a game that's very similar in some respects, and I feel like there could be a lot of pretty cool content going forward. So, hope you have enjoyed the video, guys. Drop me that like and comment if you have, and hit that subscribe button if you do want to see more Division content going forward. But for now, you guys have an awesome time. Take it easy. I'll catch you very soon.